Good morning, Ursuline Academy, and welcome to another edition of UA Today. I'm your anchor, Maggie Hoagland.
And I'm your co-anchor, Kelly Fitzgerald, here to bring you your local news. Hope you are excited for Christmas because today's stories include the legend of Saint Nick, some uplifting holiday tales, and some of your favorite holiday traditions. Let's jump right into it.
As we all know, the legend of Santa Claus was based off the story of Saint Nick, and as we also know, Saint Nicholas's feast day is tomorrow, December 6th. He is the patron saint of bakers and pawnbrokers. Saint Nicholas was born in the Holy Roman Empire and was said to have been exceedingly pious to his parents and the church as a child. His parents tragically died when he was a young boy, leaving him to be raised by his uncle, the Bishop of Padua. Saint Nick's story begins when he hears that a father of 3 girls was going to sell his daughters into prostitution because he could not afford a dowry. That night, Saint Nick threw a bag of gold through an open window in the family's house to pay for their dowry. He did this several more times for several needy families, thus creating the legend of the gift-giving Saint Nick that follows his name today. On his feast day, children traditionally put their shoes under this fireplace so Saint Nick can give them gifts. Thus, this holiday can be thought of as a mini Christmas, or really get us in the mood for Christmas. And speaking of,
Christmas not only inspires us to give, it also makes us very thankful. There is no doubt that Robert Thomas was just that for his church in Louisville, Kentucky. There was no warning on the label of the machine unpacked by Robert Thomas and a fellow co-worker in October of 2015. He was at one end while the other co-worker was at the other end of the machine. All of a sudden, the magnets pulled toward one another to the ends of the machine, crushing both of the men's fingers. Thomas's finger bones were crushed, but he pleaded with his doctors to not amputate his fingers so he could continue playing bass guitar for his church, Southeast Christian. The doctors explained that they had to amputate both of his middle fingers and undergo multiple surgeries. Thomas was devastated and didn't know if he could ever play again. After months of healing, Thomas picked up the guitar. Due to nerve damage, it was very painful touching the string, so he slipped on a plastic cover and learned to play again with 3 fingers. He could only last a few minutes at first, but this increased over time. On October 9th, 2016, Thomas played in his first Mass since the accident. Today, Robert Thomas expresses how grateful he is to be in the presence of God and carries a guitar case that reads Psalm 51, verse 8. Let me hear joy and gladness. Let bones you have crushed rejoice. Rejoicing is worldwide tradition, especially during the Christmas season. But did you know that you could also stop world wars?
some may know the story of the Christmas truce on World War I, but if you don't, pay attention. In the year of 1914, when the First World War began, British and German troops were brutally killing each other. But on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, they both laid down their weapons. It's been said that on the night of Christmas Eve, German troops went over the trenches to the British side and said, "Merry Christmas." The British weren't sure if it was a strategy to lure them out of hiding. So, when they came out, they had their weapons ready for a fight. That's when they just saw a German soldier holding an oil lamp. The troops shared cigars, they danced, and they sang Christmas carols. With God's love and power, it was truly a happy and merry Christmas, a story for future generations to remember and learn from.
Now let's take a look back at what people are doing around St. Louis now for Christmas. Let's start off with the number one thing to do in St. Louis, Steinberg Skating Rink. It is the largest outdoor ice skating rink in the Midwest, offering public skating all day, every day, including all holidays. They are always open no matter what the temperature is. Your skate admission is valid for all day. You may arrive at any time during business hours and skate as long as you like. Number 2, the iconic lights at Anheuser-Busch Brewery walking tours. There's live music, s'more stations, a new ice rink, ice sculptures, photo opportunities with the Bud Light Snowman, food stations in the beer garden, and the best part, the walking tours are free. The last but not least, the Lady of the Snows. This year is the 47th annual Way of Lights Christmas display illuminates the grounds. Since 1970, the missionary oblates of Mary Immaculate have invited one and all to make the Way of Lights a part of their family tradition. This breathtaking display focuses on the birth of Christ, the one true light of the world.
If being outside doesn't sound like your cup of tea, you can always stay in and watch your favorite Christmas movies. Christmas movies warm your heart and make you feel good after watching them. They always send some sort of message and normally revolves around family. Our broadcast team polled the students' body, and out of 211 responses, the top 3 movies were Elf with 87 votes, Home Alone with 29 votes, and The Polar Express with 22 votes. So, thank you to all that took our poll. We really appreciate it. Elf was released in 2003, and it is about Buddy when he was a baby in an orphanage who showed away in Santa's sack and ended up at the North Pole. Later, as an adult human, he happened to be raised by elves. Santa allows him to go to New York City to find his birth father, Walter Hobbs. Hobbs had no idea that Buddy was even born. Buddy, meanwhile, experiences the delights of New York City and human culture, as only an elf can. When Walter's relationship with Buddy interferes with his job, he is forced to reevaluate his priorities and focus on what really matters. That's why we love Christmas movies at UA. And since we know you all love movies so much, here's a quick movie from our stats girls.
Good morning, Ursuline Academy. I'm Claire Reggio.
I'm Sophia Mantina.
Reporting on behalf of you, our statistics class. For this class, we sent out a survey asking you multiple questions about your feelings and opinions towards activity period. What we found that students often use activity period to finish multiple tasks. We sent the survey out to 422 students and 78% responded. Students often feel an overwhelming amount of stress when they lose their activity period.
Oftentimes, students feel that their activity period is unjustly and abruptly taken from them. Due to student activities, their activity period is not as long or as consistent as it should be. We asked students how much often they spend their activity period, and at least 60% of them said that they spend their activity period doing homework.
We asked if you ever lost your activity period due to, and the top 3 were an assembly at 93%, a portfolio and mentor meeting at 85%, and a grade level activity at 74%.
We asked students how they felt when their activity period was taken away from them, and 72% of students said they felt very annoyed when their activity period got taken away. Overall, students are very irritated when their activity period is taken from them. There's a common misperception between students and teachers, where teachers think that students use their activity period unproductively, but the data shows that most students use their activity period doing homework. We hope to see some changes in the future with this data.
We'd like to thank you for your participation in this survey because without you, we would have not been able to come to these conclusions.
Wow, that was very informing. Thanks, girls. Now back to Kelly with some school announcements and shout-outs.
Last week, Miss Williams sent us this email from Stuco as a way to de-stress before exams. Student Council is having an Elf Yourself Day on Tuesday, December 13th. You're allowed to dress like an elf or wear an ugly Christmas sweater. Although, please note that it is not considered a dress-down day. We would like everyone to go all out and make it look like you are wearing a costume and are very festive. We are also asking for anyone who participates in Elf Yourself Day to please bring in one canned good. All food donations will be donated to Feed My People. You can drop cans off in O'Hara Hall before school. We will be stamping hands when you turn in your canned good to make sure that everyone who participates brings in their can because it is very important. Students not in Christmas dress should be in their complete school uniform. I hope everyone participates and can enjoy this day to Elf Yourself.
UA today would like to give a quick shout out to all the girls who helped out with Santa with breakfast. Breakfast with Santa. Great job, ladies. Closing out with broadcasts, we'd like to thank Kayla Weaver, Rachel Mernins, Julia Staluth, and Kelly Gleason, our crew behind the scenes. I'm your anchor, Maggie Hoagland.
And I'm your co-anchor, Kelly Fitzgerald,
Reminding you to make the most of your day.